Hello and welcome to the State of Events, where event professionals connect.
Anjuli Marshall is a wife, mother of two, pastor, entrepreneur, and champion for women-owned businesses. She is passionate about encouraging, inspiring, and learning from women who love what they do and remember the importance of giving back. Listen in as we address the concepts from idea to fruition, grace versus grind, and the importance of mentorship in this year's launch episode, True Entrepreneurship.
Hello, my sister from another mister. We have the incomparable, the glorious, the beautiful Mrs. Anjuli Marshall on the show. Finally, thank you, Jesus, you're here.
Oh my goodness, you are too kind. Girl, I'm so happy to be here.
We are happy to have you. It has been a long time coming. I know we've been toying with you being on the show for a couple of months. Yeah. And I don't know why I took a stab in the dark thinking, she's 9 months pregnant. We can record. Of course, babies.
2 weeks or 2 days before delivery. It's okay. It's perfectly fine. Yes.
It's perfectly fine. She'll wait. She won't come. But you have the most beautiful child right now. Who did you get blessed with in towards the end of your 2020?
Okay, well, we already had our wonderful Maverick, who was born Christmas Day 2018. But Judah Claire Preciado Marshall made her appearance October 15th. And we have just been so overjoyed with this little one. She's my little Leona. She's like a little lioness. I just love her so much. And she's added so much joy to our family. It's been wonderful.
So beautiful. Listeners, you, if you so choose to keep in touch with Anjuli in any way via social media, you will see these little beautiful Asian babies that her and her husband are great. So you just have the most beautiful Asian babies. I love them. And it's little checking monkeys. They're great. Well, I am anxious to get into this conversation about entrepreneurship as we launched this show for the new year. One of my heart's desires was just to make sure that people in the event industry feel equipped with every resource they possibly could want as a small business, as an entrepreneur, as a service provider. And you have been all of those. And so I want to jump right into this. Can you first just tell our listeners a little bit about your journey, who you are, all of that good stuff?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I will make this short, sweet, and to the point. I did not start off as someone who viewed herself as an entrepreneur. I wanted a path of a lot of resistance. And so I started in the TV industry. I was a news anchor and reporter for almost 10 years, went to school for it. I went to study abroad for a little bit, and then I came back to the country and I thought, you know what? I really, really want to get into my craft because I really enjoyed telling the story of the person who doesn't necessarily have the voice to tell the story. So I did that for about 10 years, working for various networks around the country. And then in 2010, I decided, you know what, I want to take a break. I want to do something different. And so I got into pharmaceutical sales because I really enjoyed the art of the sell. So I did that for a few years, and man, there was just a lot of things that were going on at the time. I felt like I was at a crossroads and didn't really know what to do with my life. The things that were really appealing to me and kind of fed me before weren't doing that anymore. And it felt like a midlife crisis, to be really honest with you, but I wasn't in the middle of my life. I'm still not there yet, but it really felt that way. And so I just really delved into my faith, and I did an internship at our church. And during the internship, I really heard God speak some things to me pretty clearly. And that was a season of, I used to call it my Job season. It was not a Job season, but it felt like it at the time, in that I felt so many things were being pruned from my life. And so I decided to surrender, which is an art that a lot of people have to really discover. You can't teach someone how to surrender their dreams and hopes and even their fears and things like that. But that was the season of surrender for me and restructuring. And in that, God gave me some dreams. And it was really, really cool.
Literal dreams. Literal? Oh, wow. Okay.
So I am a dreamer. Wow. I don't know how many of our listeners are actual dreamers. Like when you lay your head on your pillow, do you actually dream? And some people ask the question, do you dream in color? Do you dream in black and white? I dream in color. And, or at least it feels like color to me when I'm dreaming it. But I was gifted with some dreams. And the way that came about was the person that was mentoring me at the time took me to lunch and said, hey, what are some things that God's put on your heart? And again, this was a season of restructuring, a season of pruning. And so I honestly didn't have any dreams anymore because I had surrendered them all. It was not an overnight thing, but it did happen eventually. And she said, I really feel like God wants you to come to him, talk to him. He wants to give you some dreams. And so I grabbed a notebook and a pen, and I kept it on my bedside table. And he would wake me up in the middle of my wonderful sleep and give me dreams. And I still have this notebook. It's a tiny little notebook, and it was business ideas. And I just thought, and I'll be very honest and transparent, I did not feel qualified. I still don't feel qualified many days, but I felt even less so at the time. And I felt like a joke. I felt like, who am I to start this late in life? I'm so late in my life to start, this quest of, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't take it seriously because I didn't believe I could do it. However, he gave them to me. I am very aware of that because I'm not good enough to come up with some of these things on my own. I'm just not. That was a season as well. And it was a process of sharing the dream and knowing who to share the dream with. And while sharing it, also protecting it. And so getting through that season has taught me so much about trusting what God is sharing with me and being okay with being chosen to do that, being okay with that and letting this stuff on the side over here that I've always done. I was always the news girl. That's who I was known as. But when I moved to LA, nobody knew me as that because the dream had changed. And there was one business idea that stood high above all the others.
And as we actually go from this concept of idea to the fruit of that idea.
So when he gave me the business idea, I really, really wanted to make this happen, right? As I said before, I'm a go-getter. I really believe in productivity. I value productivity. The more I got to know God, the more he showed me productivity, schmoductivity. Like, that means nothing to me. It does mean something, but it's not everything. And so I had to learn the art of release and surrender. And that was a big puzzle piece for me. Seeing how to do something doesn't necessarily mean it's time to do something. So
say that again. Oh, I have at least since we started, I have had 5 things that are one-liners that you put out. I'm just I'm writing this down.
As a former news girl, I love speaking in sound bites. So that's good.
Come on. Okay, say that again. Say that again.
I got to remember what I said.
It's all good.
So here's the deal. When you get the puzzle piece, that should never take the place of the actual dream. It should never take. There is an art form to the timing of this. And being able to say, you know what, God, I believe you gave this to me. You tell me what the next step is. Where I've gone wrong in my business ventures and in life in general was I would receive this puzzle piece and take it as, this is it. I've got to run with this now. And then I run with it. And then I'm trying to pick up the pieces as I run. And it just sort of all falls apart. And that's heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking. And if there are any listeners out there who have started a business that have been unsuccessful, quote unquote, unsuccessful, because I've had to evaluate what success actually means. I just want you to be encouraged that if it's in your heart, try and try and try again. But the number one piece to the puzzle that we cannot forget it is you got to check in with your CEO no matter what. My CEO is Jesus. I always have to check back in with him every single day. God, what is it that you want me to do with this? What do you want me to do with this part of the puzzle? This that I can do today, what do you want me to do with it? And if we will surrender in that way, he'll give us the answers.
What were the actual steps from taking it to that idea to actually seeing the manifestation of that happen?
Praying first. Okay, God, if I'm not completely like off in left field here, this is what you've given to me. I'm going to pray over this and you tell me where you want me to start. So the next step after realizing, yep, this is it, I had to open my mouth.
Come on, baby steps. Look, you didn't go to nobody's LLC department. You didn't go to nobody's, Google Suite. You're just like, I need to speak about it.
I just need to admit it. Because again, for so many of us who are starting, we feel later, I used to say I'm a late bloomer. I'm not a late bloomer. I'm blooming later than I thought I would bloom. But my bloom is full and it's what God gave to me. And so I say that about so many areas of my life, having a baby at 40, there's just so many different things, but I'm really on time. I'm where I'm supposed to be. And it's okay. That doesn't look like somebody else's story. So if there's anybody out there who can relate to that, it's okay. Stop comparing yourself to others. Comparison is death. Let it go. Let it go.
So prayer talked about it. And and again, you had said earlier that you spoke to people that you felt like you have to talk to the right people. You can't just talk to anybody.
Nope. You have to guard your heart, right? There's a scripture that talks about guarding your heart above all else. And what that means is there's lots of different things that capture your heart, your relationships, your business ideas. You have to guard those things. And what that meant for me was I'm not just going to be out here talking to everybody, sharing that business idea. I had to protect it because it was important to me. It's like a little child, you gotta start it out slowly. The immune system isn't quite built up yet. So you got to make sure that it's being nurtured and incubated in the timing that it needs, right? So I remember there were some girlfriends that got together, safe girlfriends that got together, right? Come on. And I just really felt pressed in my heart to say something, but I felt so embarrassed, Sonia. I was so embarrassed. And I don't know why. I just felt like, oh, I'm not qualified. Nobody's going to take me seriously. But I mustered the energy and somehow we got on the topic. I mean, we had never really discussed business ideas, but for some reason, this was the topic of discussion when we were all hanging out. And I felt so embarrassed, but I got so much positive feedback and encouragement saying, why do you, they would ask, why are you embarrassed by that? That is the coolest idea in the world. What can we do to help you? And that was not expected. I never expected it to go any further than cerebral. I never expected it to go further than right at the edge of my mouth, like just my lips. That's it. And it went into, God gave this to me. I can do it. I got this. I'm doing this.
So you're at prayer, then you talk about it. You're enjoying and basking in the freedom to talk about it. And then what happened?
It was, I am eating, sleeping, breathing this thing. And it quickly took over my life. Everything was about this.
I want to pause there for just a moment, Anjuli, because this is so critical. As I was putting this episode together and sort of the way I wanted to direct it, I found so many articles that were saying to do just what you said. And for you, it did not work out.
Yeah.
I mean, just article after blog after a podcast, for that matter, where it is, and we're going to get a little bit next into grace versus grind, but it is eat, sleep, and breathe your product, or eat, sleep, and breathe your idea.
Yeah.
Why? And just for all intended purposes, I know our listeners are anxious enough. Can you please tell our listeners what was the product? What was it? What was it?
Well, I actually do have patents on it, so it's okay to say it. It is protected. So, I haven't talked about it in so long.
We're back to the talking about it. I love it. And I love
talking about it again.
Virginizing your talk about it again.
And I'll explain why I stopped talking about it. But it's so at the time, so I'm a doggy mom. I'm forever a doggy mom. I was a doggy mom for 12 years, almost 12 years. And loved my beautiful baby girl, Violet. Took her everywhere. She moved across the country with me 3 times. And she was my first child, right? So any doggy parents out there know how important it is to, to you. Your animals are your babies. So my first business idea had everything to do with Violet. And it was jewelry for dogs, which may sound silly, but the way that it was, I am not going to explain all of it, because I actually do believe this is going to happen one day, the business, because the product does not exist on the market anywhere. But it's a high-end product that could be made to be in any Petco, PetSmart. And now I know more about distribution and manufacturing and all that. So it was the coolest idea ever. And so I was going around to different jewelry makers and having them make prototypes, and lots of different things were happening. And I was just so flippin' excited about it. And
then we get to what you just mentioned, where you're eat, sleeping, and breathing it. And so how do we manage? And for many of our listeners, this is probably going to throw a huge monkey wrench in potentially any workshop you've been to, potentially any book you've been reading. Right. But why didn't eat, sleep, and breathing your idea, your vision, and your product, essentially, why wasn't that the recipe for it happening?
I asked that question to a person that I barely knew at the time. Oh man, there's so many different things. I started noticing, remember I talked about puzzle pieces, right? The puzzle piece that I started to see was that women, female entrepreneurs, were not as bold in their declarations, in their belief that they could do it, in their pursuit of the dream, of the business dream. They just were not neck to neck with their male counterparts. And what I mean by that is anytime I had a conversation with a female entrepreneur, you could rest assured that she was going to say something like, I just don't know if I can do it. I'm just not, I don't know if I'm I just don't know. I just don't. And that irked me so much because I was one of them. And the puzzle piece that I saw was, on the flip side of that puzzle piece was, I would talk to male entrepreneurs and you couldn't shut them up. You couldn't. They just went for it. There was no confidence issue. There was no lack of confidence. There was no, I just don't know if I can, no, that never existed. And I'm sure there are men out there that feel that way. And that has always plagued me. Sometimes we think that the dream is the destiny, and that's not the case. The dream is the vehicle that gets us to the destiny, nothing more.
So I'm wondering then if it's a situation of, if we are hearing from multiple sources that the way to get your idea to fruition is to eat, sleep, and devour it. If that is something that someone is doing, but yet is able to have the dedication to it without it dictating them, then they might be in a place where that could grow. Would that
True.
be something that you might have experienced?
Most definitely. When I hold on and I'm grasping this idea so tightly, then I somehow am forgetting the who, and now it's about the what.
I want to transition us a little bit to this idea of grace versus grind. This is a very hot little catchphrase. There's books about it. There's blogs about it. I didn't know it was actually called a grace grind blog and website and all of these kinds of things. How did you still grind in a way that might have been healthy, but also allow your project or product to do its thing without attaching the unhealthy aspects of grinding?
I'm going to preface my answer by saying that I understand that this is not the popular answer. It's just not popular. When you live a life of faith, there comes a point in every different scenario, every scene, every situation where you come to terms with either this is my will or it's God's will. It's one or the other. If I'm opposing God's will, then that means that this is really what I want. This has nothing to do anymore with what God wants. It's a good thing. There's nothing wrong in it. It's a good thing. It's going to help my family. It's going to help us financially. It's going to do all these great things. This is what I kept telling myself. But I got so far away from asking, God, what do you want me to do with this? Because I was afraid that he was going to say to me, I want you to give it to me. There's a saying, he can either use a feather or a brick. I never choose the feather. I always choose to be corrected with the brick. And I don't want to be corrected with the brick, but I get so headstrong that I've made my choice. I knew he was saying to me, okay, this is meant to be a blessing to you, but right now it's not blessing you. It's stressing you out. It's taking you away from your family. It's making your husband feel less than, desired. Like I was literally doing everything with this business, and everything else just went by the wayside. Like I didn't really focus on anything else.
Did that then produce a grind, an unhealthy grind?
That was the grind.
Back to the other point, whereas like you eat, sleep, and breathe it, there absolutely, we never talk about the balance that's necessary. We never talk about the balance that is critical to healthily, and I don't want to, for those of you that are listening and have developed this idea in which you can healthily grind, I don't want to negate the fact that you can healthily grind, but we don't create catchphrases and hashtags about those healthy components of the grind. We don't hashtag balance. We don't hashtag, we are now, because people are getting it. And I'd like to think that maybe the pandemic had something to do with it, but that's another topic. But we do have the hashtag self-care. We do have the hashtag, mental health and all of these things where we're starting as a society and as a culture to get that there is a way to healthily grind. But we have to know what the unhealthy portions of it are. And so although it may be, as you're saying, although it may be, awesome to have this catchphrase where you're a boss lady, because quite frankly, women haven't necessarily been always given the title of boss. So you want to relish in that. I get it. Say again?
Or the opportunity.
Right. So I get that. But when your eat, sleeping, and breathing it has now made it so that your child is coming and saying, hey, mom or dad, this is 3 days in a row where I haven't hit a baseball with you.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that we need to be identifying. Did you have a mentor or a coach that was supporting you through the process to maybe even bring up, hey, now you're grinding, girlfriend, because you've never done it before. So you don't know. I mean, quite frankly, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, I didn't know how to do it. So if I was doing it unhealthily, sometimes it was just because I didn't know what I was doing.
Right. And that's a lot of it. I think when you're starting out, you're so green. You don't really know what you don't know. But I do believe in mentorship. I really, really believe that it's important to have a mentor, and it's important to have someone that you are accountable to. If you can find someone who has the beliefs that you have, who shares those beliefs with you, and who is willing to hold your hand and walk with you, what a blessing, what a gift. I didn't have that initially. I honestly did not have that. However, there are organizations that I came across that were super duper helpful. As I was, starting out, the SBA, the Small Business Association, really big help. And they partner with an organization called SCORE. They're the Service Corps of Retired Executives. So SCORE has been monumental in that they provide free mentorship. You're basically paired with someone who's in somewhat of a similar industry as you, and you can meet them at the Chamber of Commerce. Obviously, we are in very different times now than when I did this several years ago. I'm sure everything is virtually now because of COVID, but SCORE was really helpful. And so I left each of those meetings having homework, something to do, so that the next time I came, I progressed a bit more and a bit more. And so these mentors through SCORE were vital.
Listeners, if for some reason you are just joining us, I have the wonderful Anjuli Marshall, wonderful friend, mother, wife, all of those wonderful titles, but ultimately a wonderful daughter of the King. And she is here talking to us about true entrepreneurship. This has been such all of these conversations, they always go in a direction that I had never intended, and they're so much better than I intended. So your product of the pet jewelry, did it finesse into any other business ideas? Was that the extent of you being a product specialist?
So I learned quickly, you have to have money to do prototypes and all those different things, and for manufacturing and distribution and all that. And so my brain immediately went to, okay, I don't have money for this. What can I do that would create income quickly? So I came up with another business idea.
Serial entrepreneur is what we call those.
Seriously. And this is not like me in my, previous experiences at all. So I was so excited because I came up with this really cool idea, and within 24 hours, the website was completely structured. It was live. I didn't sleep that night, maybe 2 hours. I was so on fire, so excited. And I asked God, I said, give me an idea, something that could be lucrative really quickly. And he gave this cool idea of clear calendars to me. Essentially, it's a calendar, but it's on acrylic, something that's dry erase, something that is aesthetically appealing, because aesthetics is extremely important to me. I love design and for things decoratively to look good. Otherwise, I don't want to use it. And so I came up with this really cool product. And I came up with various templates that could apply to those in business, those in television, those in the event industry, so many different options. And so anyway, long story short, I slowly drifted away from my Sweet Violet product, the doggy jewelry, into clear calendars, because that is what was bringing in money. That is what needed to be nurtured at the time in order to get back to nurturing the original idea. And so it kind of took on its own life.
What would be sort of your 3 entrepreneur life hacks?
I think the biggest thing you can do is go on the journey of surrender, because it's when we surrender that we actually can fully appreciate and fully receive what is ours. Another life hack that has really, really worked for me, and this is just something that you can put your hands to, backwards planning has been really, really helpful for me, because it forces me to identify the goal and then to come up with ways to realistically be productive and accomplish the goal. Then I think the third thing, when you have a business idea and you are pursuing that and you're doing all the things, you need to have an elevator pitch. You need something that is going to be easy to understand and to sell to the person once they get in front of you. So imagine you are in an elevator and you have literally from the 1st to the 18th floor, for example, and it's a fast elevator, not those slow lifts that they have, in these old buildings. I'm talking about a newer elevator. You got 20 seconds. How do you sell your business and why do I care about it?
We're going to be launching some really, really cool opportunities for you listeners. So stay tuned to our website, our newsletter. Anjuli and I are going to partner to actually be available to entrepreneurs for anything, not just necessarily how to grow your business, which we obviously, as you heard here, we obviously, know and can probably do those in our sleep, but more so how to support you with just the life things that you may be missing in this season or in a season to come. And so definitely be following us on all of our socials at _state of events. Anjuli, can you tell our listeners how to get in touch with you or how they can find you and all that good stuff?
Yes. So I am available on Instagram at I am Anjuli, ANJULI. I am Anjuli. That is probably the easiest way. My email is anjulimarshall@gmail.com. I'm pretty simple to get in contact with.
Anjuli, thank you so much for your time.
Oh my goodness, it's been my pleasure. It's been my pleasure. Thank you for this outlet. Thank you for doing all that you do, Sonia, because I know your heart for women and just business owners in general, but especially women and women of color. And it just means so much to have someone who has a like mind and who we can trust, right? So thank you for doing all that you do.
Absolutely.
You've been listening to The State of Events, where event professionals connect. For more episodes, you can find us on Spotify and iTunes. To engage with us on social media, look for @the_state of events. Also, we would love to hear from you. If you have any suggestions, topic ideas, or if you'd like to sponsor an upcoming episode, send us an email to inquiries@thestateofevents.com. Thank you so much for joining The State of Events, where event professionals connect.